Hello YouTube and newsletter subscribers, this is Terrell from TerrellO3.com. Today's January 26, 2017. This is the Black Star Update Report connected to Volume 4 of Terrell's 2017 newsletter. Seismic and volcanic earth change indicators all say Earth is nearing the end of the final earth change lull period for the 2016 Earth orbit cycle relative to the Black Star positioned in the center of the Libra constellation relative to the Sun. From the Earth position, now that we're moving to the 9-degree angle, then the Black Star would appear to be over in Scorpio or even into Sagittarius. From our perspective, remember this is relative to the Sun, not relative to Earth position. We're going around and around the solar system. And that's why this is always relative to the Sun. There's going to be some commentary on that in a featured article down below. Year-over-year weekly seismic values show perfect symmetry. I mean, look at the values. As far as you're looking at 5s, 6s, 7s, and 8s, you look at the big stuff, this looks pretty much the same. We had 402 of the 2.54 magnitude earthquakes. That was in beginning of last year. You see it's from the 3rd to the 9th. The same week 50 is just under 2 weeks later. So that's why these dates don't jive. This right here looks like an incorrect value. These dates didn't get changed properly. I'm going to have to check on that before this is finally uploaded there. That should be 2015 numbers. There we go. The mistake was right here. 2017. Last year's 2016. I had 16 here. This part of my mind's not making the full transition over to 2017, some areas of this investigation. So these values just went and checked everything, and everything is right, with the exception of these two 6s had to be 7s. So, seeing symmetry, in other words, what we saw last year, the year before, and the year before for week 50, pretty much the same when you're looking on this side of the board. This is the difference right here, 402 down to 184. On the these low numbers coming in right now, a little bit disturbing. That's the word I've been using for the last few weeks. Look at down at the bottom of the chart. You see how we have two sub 200 values? If these were in combination with two sub 20 values for the 5s, then we would be looking at a very similar pattern to which, if I pulled up for the last 3 years, you see you have the 18 here with the O outside orbit position. Then getting a pair of sub 20 values near the O's is kind of normal. If going back to 2014, then you see it. We have 18 and a 14 together. But with these values, that's why these are red right now. This should be happening in week 54, which there won't be a 54 this year, but in previous years. And week 1 of the new cycle. That's what we should see with the sub 20 values together. And these are coming early. And you see these low values, they're way below the average than the yearly average for the last 6 years. Then we should expect to see a bounce, but we're also coming to the bottom of the lull. Let me show you why. And there was a lot of debate about this when we hit the backside alignment here, New Zealand. And then people were saying, well, look, you're still having these bigger quakes, but this is because of the activity taking place within those buoyancy barrier corridors. The reverberations going back and forth, that is becoming the norm now. On the backside anyway, when we're in back orbit relative to the Black Star. But whenever you look at the values, you're going to see, for example, this 49 dropped really low down to 21, then we got these bounces. This is a lot to do with that reverberation. And the 5 magnitude earthquakes is what it creates. 5.1 to 5.7 in that range. That's from the horn formations on those plume formations standing up suddenly as these waves are passing by. Creates them out in the Pacific Ocean Ring of Fire, and this is becoming more of a global phenomenon too. But then, sure enough, we are seeing the decrease. See 43 down to 35, down to 23, because that reverberation, that wave action back and forth, is slowing down. Less intensity. And it should be. This is the reason why. right here. Look where the black star is, right between the sun and Libra, but it's not nearly this far away. This black star is going to be sitting about right here. It's not inside of Earth orbit path, but it is likely inside of Mars orbit path. This thing is way closer than people realize. Now, when November the 14th, we passed behind the sun relative to the black star, we were right here. We went through the helium focusing cone beginning on December 5th. We passed through it. Very uneventful. No cosmic wave rays or any of that stuff that you heard from the higher truth guy. It's ridiculous. The reason that you're seeing this super wave stuff from Paul LaViolette being passed around by the lettered agencies on the internet is because the Schumann resonance of our planet is rising. The heartbeat of our planet is escalating. Has to do with the magma plume formation. That's the big secret. I've shown it to you guys. Go back to volume 28 of 2016. Again in 42, you're going to get an update on that. And a recent report, the earthquake overview video. Now you're going to see more and more images of what's going on inside of our Earth. 410 to 660 kilometers deep in the transition zone. Big earthquakes. It's created this magma plume formation that spread around the Pacific Ocean Ring of Fire. The terminal ends are right now under Cascadia and Mexico. They are pushing together. But we're going through the low period, so they have less intensity. Watch for the end of April to see how far those terminal ends are pushed this time. We identified 4 extending arms coming out of, it's like an octopus reaching out. Let's look at the, well, before we go over there, I'm getting ahead of myself here. Black stars over here. See how the Earth, we passed behind the sun, now we're following this line? As we're moving this way, the black star is moving this way. This magnetic portal connection is being pulled behind us, and it's lengthening still. That's going to end when we get up to here at this 90-degree angle. Right about here. You see about the date? It's going to be about the middle of February. That's what I've been saying all along. This is whenever the Earth should be at its coolest point, and we should see the minimum number of new volcanic eruptions. We should see the lowest number of 2.54 magnitude earthquakes. Could be a little bit different on this cycle because, as I just showed you, we're already down to 144. That value is only supposed to get down to 190 at outside orbit position if we were going according to previous modeling, according to what's happened in 2011, 12, 13, 14, for example. That's what we would suspect. But there's a transition happening in the Earth, the tectonic volcanic reset. Series of them is taking place around our planet. It's changing things. And you can see the evidence of that in the seismic chart. But the new volcanic eruptions, then you're going to see we only had 3, which we should only have 3, 2, and 1 whenever we get to outside orbit position. Expect 2, maybe 3 next week. Okay, but here's the deal. You see where we are in the middle of February with the Earth? The Earth is going to start moving this way. Natural orbit around the sun, 6,000 miles per hour. We're going to move towards the black star that's right about here. This magnetic portal connection between the Earth and the black star is going to shorten rapidly moving through this period. That's going to cause extreme volcanism as the Earth is moving through this part of the orbit right here. Extreme. We'll see 9 new volcanic eruptions a week instead of 3 that we're seeing right now. So that's the scenario after the middle of February, and we're going through May. Because of the black star being in Libra, move this on around, you can see that we're between the sun and Libra constellation in the middle of May. You see it? Now the debates about whether we're going to see our near-side alignment events, whether Jupiter is playing a role. Jupiter is closing in on black star position. Jupiter, even though it's inside of Jupiter orbit, Jupiter's moving this way, prograde fashion. All these planets are moving this way. Black star is moving this way, but it's moving very slowly. Even if it's moving at its 12 degrees, Jupiter's moving 30 degrees, it's closing in on black star position. It's taking some of the stress off of our planet by receiving more electromagnetism. Jupiter's Earth changes should be, it's reaching its peak as it's going through Libra, just like the Earth. See how it's in Virgo relative to the sun? You see how that works? And it's closing in on the black star that's just about in this area right here, coming this way. So the black star is in a triangle at this point. Well, even now, between the sun, Jupiter, and Saturn, the black star is in this triangle right here. The Earth is going to be coming into this triangle right here. And you can take this back in time and see when that's going to happen. See, we're going to kind of pass between Jupiter. I mean, this is not exact using this program, but it's at the end of the first week going into the second week of April. And then, I mean, it's kind of busy in here right now. See, you got Mercury coming around, Venus is right there, we're passing between Jupiter, and we're heading towards Saturn. And the black star is right here. This is going to be an extremely active period right here. Extremely. So, be ready for it. This is what we're preparing for, survival groups. This is what we're preparing for. And we're watching for a near-side alignment quake event to happen right around May the 2nd, May the 3rd, May the 4th, May the 5th. There's an event window there, according to the magnetic, the binary star magnetic repulsion modeling. That's what should happen. And we should have an entire orbit cycle to go before the black star continues moving left to the left side of Libra, and then we have a black star magnetically induced geological pole shift May 2018. That's what the primary modeling says. It's the magnetic North Pole model, and I'll go back to that in just a second. I'll get down to that part of the update in just a second. So we're seismic activity is going to continue on the decline. Pretty much the pattern that you see right here. Wouldn't be surprised to see a bounce in this value before it ends up around 190. So wouldn't be surprised to see it bounce up, and then but the minimum values should take place in the middle of February. It's possible that we're going to continue seeing this low activity because the seismic dynamic, tectonic dynamic on our planet is shifting, so that the volcanism and the seismicity, the earthquake events and the volcanism, are becoming more intertwined rather than being separate. A lot of these earthquakes we're seeing are caused by the magma plume formation pushing up on the heavier magma. It's displaced, something's ready to go above, and off it goes. That creates moderately sized earthquakes, but without the indicator quakes, the precursor quakes and the aftershocks. You just straight push up, straight back down, boom, you have your event. That recent event we had down in Chile recently, what was it, 7.3 or 7.7? No precursor quakes. A few aftershocks, the larger magnitude. Didn't see the small quakes. So that's the pattern. Look, since we were at backside, passing behind the sun, this 303 is our high. It's way high compared to all these other values, and everything has been diminishing from that time. And you see, we had the pair of low values up here at the top too, in red, because this is rare. But this is a recurring pattern now. We don't stop placing the red values here, because these red values show up because we're pointing out anomalies in the last 6 years. That's why. Having two of these sub 200 values together, when you go back and look at all these charts, good luck. You're not going to find them. They're showing up now. And remember, when the black star is upon us, all of these values are going to turn red. Everything's going to change. So this is an indication that we are seeing more red popping up into the chart, and that's from nearing black star proximity, throwing things off. So a little bit of description here about what's going on in the buoyancy barriers, and less news this week because the reverberations have slowed down. As predicted, it just took longer than we expected on this cycle. It's part of recognizing a new pattern, is going through it, tracking the data, and then looking at the pattern that is created by the numbers, the graph that's created. Same 12-degree move from last year. This is last year's position of the magnetic North Pole. This is this year's for the same 24th of January, and 12-degree differential. So it's not holding true for the previous years as much. This is an indication to me. You notice that this I had 3 wedges here for the last 3 years. It had really good symmetry coming all the way around. But we had a change as we're approaching the black star over here on this side, where the pattern was not well established on the 12 degrees. That's part of the reason that there was difficulty in identifying it, because it really was not well identified whenever we're passing. This right here is the area where we're passing between the two stars. You can see the April numbers in here, the April dates. And this back on the back side, this is when we're passing behind the sun relative to the black star. And this side over here is when we're at the outside orbit position, the 90-degree angle. So it creates an X on this chart that matches the seismic chart. That's what it does. We still have that 12 degrees. It's a little bit disturbing, that 12 degrees. I'm wondering if that's going to hold all the way around. We'll just keep watching. So there's commentary for that. Now, a little bit of Ozarks Survival Group. The Ozark Survival Group program took a big hit this week with the discovery of a well-orchestrated PSYOP. That's what it is, guys. Our group has been the target of a psychological operation put on by, it looks like, a different group. I'm slow to draw conclusions, gathering the information, and going to be able to do my thing. And eventually, the truth is going to be known. Exactly what's going on here. So I don't have all of the evidence to be able to draw all the conclusions, but there are some things that we do know. And from things that have said, emails that were shared, and emails that were not shared, things that I was left out of the loop on, and now things are making more sense. And after talking with group leaders, after some group leaders left, this is causing a big shakeup in this group. This is typical. This is what happened in 2011 and 12, just happened a little different way. So let me finish this sentence. Well orchestrated. This is psychological, and it has caused damage to people. It's caused suffering to people that put their trust in these key people, people that I put in positions, and the people that use those positions to serve other interests, rather than the best group, these best group interests. So this is some information from the final email that I received from this lady right here, and who I consider to be a confidant. And well, this is what happens when you put trust in people. You can get burned. You really can get burned, and it's part of the PSYOP is to sow distrust among group leaders, among the group for their leaders. See, this is well orchestrated, what's been going on here. And people are being duped, and still right now people are angry, and they're placing that anger upon where these people have been pointing, rather than realizing this is a smokescreen op, that this is a smokescreen deal, and it's geared to get you. It's like a magician's trick. The hand is pointing over here, the pretty girl half dressed is over there. Why, they're doing this over here. That's what's been going on. So this is the you guys can read this for yourself. And so this is Rosemary sent at the airport. This is the final message that I received from her on January the 15th. You look at the date. That's quite some time ago. And it took some time because the leader of the finance committee, see, Rosemary was taking charge because of the group leader's need to be with a dying relative. So she had all the opportunity. She had motive, she had opportunity, and she had access to everything. So that after several telephone calls and getting the information, then it gradually is becoming more and more clear to me what's going on. So this is the little short email that she sent after surveying our staging area property, which was obviously not our staging area property, but somebody's. And that, just read it for yourself. And I was supposed to keep my mouth shut, hold on. Tom was supposed to do the same thing. That's when this handiwork. At the same time, an orchestrated effort of attacks were leveled against me and against Sybil, the leader of the Medical Operations Committee. For those that are wondering, and I actually gave them fodder, something to play with, because of my own life experience and of doing this before. So twice in my life, men, working men, have been saved on job sites that were going to bleed out within minutes using a bandana. And one cut his hand in two with a chainsaw. The next one got his hand caught in a mortar mixer, severed the artery. He was going to bleed out right there, except where the bandana goes on, And the one with it was a lawn service. It wasn't even our crew that was working. I was there finishing up a chimney. Up high, saw the accident, saw everybody screaming. Mexicans running everywhere. This guy was going to bleed out. It was gushing blood everywhere. Had to scale down, race over to the fella, tie his arm up, tell these guys what to do. Go get your truck, get this guy in there and get him off. So knowing this and being O negative positive, I'm sorry, having O negative blood, being a universal donor, then that made me realize that this type of emergency situation can happen with our group, and we need to know the blood types. And this is particularly for me, because being a universal donor means I can help everybody in the group. You can all use my blood, but I can only use blood from an O negative donor. I want to know who they are. So this was kind of personal for me. However, the information was provided to every director, every committee leader, that the information that we're gathering is optional. Nobody has to give anything if they don't want to. Nothing going through this period. When you show up at our staging area property, the medical team needs to have your blood type as basic information. In case something happens to you, we know who our donor is. If you're AB positive, you can take blood from anybody. All right, so there are rules. And the medical operations team needs to have access to the information. So Sybil was asked by me to gather that information, to keep it secret. We do not have a centralized database of information. We don't want centralized information because that makes us vulnerable. We want it decentralized. So Tom keeps information on the investors. Sybil keeps information on the doctors and on patients. That's the way that it's supposed to be. Then that information goes to the intranet, our Ozark Survival Group intranet, and password protected, firewalled, only for access by people on a need-to-know basis for doing their jobs. So anyway, this was a test, and I told Sybil that this was a test. And this gave these people, these moles in our situation, an opportunity to cast a shadow on Sybil and on me, as if we're prying. And at the same time that these moles are digging, it's the reason that we had trouble in the beginning, because of Chris's nose in the financial business. He's over here in this group, out of his area of operation, and digging for information out of the financial group. Well, it turns out that was the pattern, and Rosemary was already in the group, and this the Force, the Jedi stuff and all that they brought with them from this other group has been, that's the keyword, part of the keywording part. It shows up in their lingo, and it identifies a common handler. Eventually it's going to, but anyway, you guys can read these couple of paragraphs, and I want to apologize to particularly the new members, everyone, but to the new members, because coming into this situation, this is deliberately contrived psychological warfare that is being played on this group to sow division, to get everybody infighting, to cast shadows on me and on all group leaders. So that's the deal. That's what's going on here. It's a temporary setback. Now, the moral fiber of this group is being tested right now, and my from going through this before, it takes a week. It's going to take about a week, or because this was well orchestrated and people have been so polarized, it may take a little bit longer than that. But people are leaving this group thinking that Chris is the good guy when he's the guy that has been sowing all of this distrust and creating all this division, pointing fingers at everybody else as a smokescreen to cover up what he's been doing, which has been to surgically remove the investors from the financial committee in order to take them elsewhere, to add them to their other group, which I don't need to say who it is, but I'll just tell you, in a conversation I had with Chris on the phone, then he said that he had other offers. He had offers from WSO, and it could be that I'm going back to look at the dates of when people signed up and joined groups and, you know, various activities. Problem is, the more I investigate on this kind of thing, I mean, this is an investigator's dream right here. But this is going to take away from doing my job. And I really, I mean, it's water under the bridge, really. It's great that it was discovered. It's great now that the rats are leaving the ship. The thing is, and if I show you the list of people that have chosen to leave, you're going to see an extraordinary high percentage of you would expect to be a certain number from this committee and this committee and this committee and this committee. It's not. That's not what it is. The financial committee is what's going to take the biggest hit right here. And of course, there's a variety of different reasons, but the timing is just really impeccable, and not pointing fingers or anything like that of any of the individuals. And as stated in the email that I sent, you cannot blame anyone for choosing a better path for securing a safe zone environment for themselves and their families. If they see something that's better that's out there, they should go for it. That's in their own best self-interest. It's whenever you take a position on one of these committees and you are swearing your oath, which is that's what you're doing. When you take a leadership role on these committees, you're gathering personal information. You're in charge, but there's responsibilities that go with that. When you use that to conspire with others for your own, to serve your own best interest, any other interest besides the best interest of this group, then that's betrayal, is what it is. It's what it boils down to. And betrayal has been it's been in my life, my entire life, and this is nothing new. So don't be surprised. I'm not shocked, surprised, and this kind of thing has happened before. And so it's not that I'm taking it lightly. It's just going through it so many times. It's generally the finance committee. It's the financial committees that polarize, and then they see other opportunities. They say, well, we got the money. They got, what do they got? Well, let's take ours and go over here, and we can do this, and we don't have to have that. So it's kind of a have-not thing, basically. And that have-not thing, that pot was stirred by, guess who? Chris, right from the start, who's been making division, but he's doing it in such a way as if by pointing fingers and saying, well, Sybil's this, she used to work for the CDC. That's great. A contractor, she was contracted, wasn't an employee of the CDC, was a contractor for because of her skills. That's why she belongs right in the position that she's in. I gave her the orientation, 45 minutes over the phone, well qualified to do this job. She's a go-getter. She's been getting things done in the medical group that was not done under Dr. Laura. Nothing against Dr. Laura, she just didn't have the time to do it. And Sybil was one of the ones that said, hey, guess what? May's coming. So we need to get certain things in place. So she was making requests to the financial committee, and that's where, and I told her, you got to see Tom and you got to see Rosemary. Well, that's kind of how that attacked Sybil with the blood thing. You know, now they want our blood. You know, so that gave the fodder that the moles needed to make their attack. That was very strategic, but it was predictable. Didn't play out exactly the way that I thought it would, but something very similar. I mean, you could feel a wave coming. The wave that I could feel coming started just after the 15th. Whenever I got this email, you know, it's real uplifting. You know, hold your horses. We're going to have something here soon. But then a week goes by and you don't hear a thing, zero, nothing. Then after several phone calls and figuring out what was going on, then sent the remove Rosemary roll call. Didn't get a word from Rosemary. I've tried of defense for anything. There's no way you can defend. You can't defend that. Anything that's like that. And then wanting to have all of the information so I can figure out what's going on, I sent email to Chris saying, hey, give me the emails between you and Rosemary. They're both senior members appointed by me. I'm the only person in this group to provide oversight of these committee leaders. I'm the only person that has the ability to do that. Everybody else is under their charge. So their responsibility, part of their duty and part of their responsibility was to give me that information so I can do what's in the best group interest. The moment that email was sent, then Chris used the opportunity to make an attempt like he had the moral high ground, saying Sybil this, Terrell this, all of this, but I quit. Still, some of the members are sucked in by what they've been doing, and I'm sure that they're having a big laugh about it. It's all fun, it's great, but it's betrayal is what it is. Of course, you can lie to somebody and you can manipulate and deceive. You know, the devil is great at doing that, but in the end, he's a bad guy. He's a bad. There's good guys with white hats, and there's bad guys with black hats. Eventually, these conspirators working together in our midst and betraying us have to look at each other and wonder which one of them is going to betray the other, because that's what they have in common. That's what their bond is: betrayal. So good luck with whatever you guys are doing, and just kind of in that really hate to have to give that report, but from all the evidence, that's precisely the way that it looks. Perhaps the picture will change just a little bit moving forward. If that does, then I'll let you guys know. Project supporters for this week include Russell, Michelle, Thomas, Patsy, Jeffrey, John, Billy, Dina, Lewis, I think that's Dens or Deans, Jeff, Rosalie, David, Christy, Penny, Country, that's his name, Country, Money, and Edwin, Denise, Magnus, Darla, Deborah. There's a lot of D's right through here. Deborah, Darla, and Darius. And then James. James has been a supporter for a long time. Your name's going to be mentioned next week. You just resubscribed. Good supporter from England. He always lets his subscription expire all the way from the start, and then he starts all over again. Kind of cool. Appreciate your support, James, very, very much. Then Cathal and Roger renewed their subscriptions from previous years, with John and Bennett donating to the research. Many thanks to you guys. You're the ones that are making the investigation possible. And that's what I wanted to share with you on that part. Then lots of good questions and comments and answers. See, lots of commentary on still questions on the different modeling, and Project Black Star overview video that was made this week. Click on that link. These are the links that were made in that, and that was from the request of one of the survival group members to make a shorter one. This one's only like 20 minutes. And leaving out some of the religious stuff. They're looking for a more secular type, more science-based approach, which for me is kind of difficult because it all works together. Scripture and the science say exactly the same thing, and the faith-based people are going to be moved by the coincidences. They're not really coincidences. They are the places, the areas where the science and the scripture say the exact same thing. So that's support to verify what they already believe by their faith with the science. So whether a strictly science-based, if a strictly science-based case could be made, the scientists would be leading the Nibiru Planet X / movement. That's not the way that it is. This thing is an anomaly. It's throwing people off. It's slowing down as it's getting closer to the sun. It's behaving in an anomalous way. That's causing it to come in under the radar, if you will. Part of that is dupes that can't figure it out, and the other part is well-orchestrated lettered agency Planet X / Nibiru disinformation program, desensitizing program, so that people get desensitized. Oh, Nibiru, Hercolobus, Black Star, yeah, right, let's move on, type of thing. And it's working. It's working very, very well. Most of the people will not be ready whenever the destruction comes suddenly. A May springtime Black Star crossing event comes suddenly. Destruction comes suddenly. We don't get the warning of the sun turning dark. We don't get the other signs. Lots and lots of good information in here by Jason all the time. And he sends more stuff than appears in this newsletter. There's a lot of really good stuff here. But if we put too much in, your head would explode. My head would explode. So here's what some of the information that he sent this week. And he's identified. The thing I like about Jason's work is he's able to look celestially and to see the forces that are taking place in our solar system, and then take that down to planet Earth and show how these things are happening to cause these seismic patterns, volcanism patterns, things like that. Jason, you might want to include a little bit more of the magnetic pole migration, the 12-degree delay. Look into that, 12 degrees. If the black star is moving left in the orbit diagram 12 degrees on average for a decade, it's going to show up in the magnetic pole migration modeling if that this other magnet has an influence, and it looks like that it did around after 2005. Schumann resonance escalation 2004 and 5, the magnetic pole migration. These things are going to go hand in hand, and they both transition in 2004, 2005, and just after the time that the black star made magnetic portal connection to our planet. And he's going to show you more pictures of what looks like this dipole deal, right? And the Earth now has two stars competing for magnetic polarity control, and he's doing a good job of showing you guys what's going on with the Earth. And that's one of the things that he's identified up there in that upper chart that is dead on is, look at the United States. Anybody see any difference? If you've been following the research for years, you see the difference, because we had a quake swarm area here and a quake swarm area here in 2011. 2012, this started, well, it's about the same. After 2013, you're going to see another transition seismically, 2013, after Solomon Island. You're also going to see that there's another a split in the Earth, another rift that's formed. And I'm betting that it is going from the southeast to the northwest this way, because all these plates are going this way. And that's created this new line of activity that I keep talking about, going right up through here. These tectonic plates right here that are pushed against the North American craton are going this way, creating opportunity for that slippage. 2004 Russian Grim report. These are precursor quakes to what's coming. And the northern magma plume wave that's been pushing this corridor right here. This is the shortest length of the four arms that reach out here. Here's one of them. Here's the second one that reaches across, and it terminates over here in Mexico. Then this other arm reaches across this way. And if I pulled up the 30-day, you'd be able to see there's another arm that reaches down through this way and is pushed all the way up right to here. This arm is it has a terminal end that is being pushed. It's given directionality by the buoyancy barrier corridor that's been created. And it is pushing this way. This one's pushing across this way. They are going to converge right in here. That's what's going to happen. And these pressures are coming from the Pacific Ocean and shifting through, and they're going to conjoin right through here too. But it's these two right here, the one pushing from the north and this one pushing from the south. This one's down by Mexico. This one, you see this dead area? It's because the magma plume formation is already pushed under Cascadia. If I showed you the last 30 days, you'd be able to see the fives that are coming through here already, right? But it's because this entire plate system is locked. So you're not seeing the evidence on the surface until you have that linchpin quake event. That's going to change everything for this area, whether it happens on this orbit cycle or the next. Then we're going to see. But the uptick period coming, the end of April, going into May, we'll be watching this very carefully right here. And we're going to see signs that this magma plume formation has indeed pushed south farther, and that this wave to the south has pushed, because it's right here. It's already at Mexico. They're not too far apart already. This uptick period that's coming, April and May, the peak of it, could see these two push together, and whenever they do, something is going to happen. The terminal ends hit, there's nowhere for all that pressure to go. The buoyancy barriers are going to be tested right under Yellowstone. These bulging calderas. If you've seen the maps of the future, you can see that the scenario that I'm describing to you is what makes the Scallion maps come true. The Navy maps of the future come true because of these terminal ends right here pushing. So they saw maps, those maps have been out for years, but nobody's had a scientific explanation of what's going to cause that. The terminal ends of this magma plume formation is what causes that. Definitely. That's what causes it. So you're going to have continued movement. You're going to have continued rift formations. This area here, because the plates are moving this way. If this plate gets ahead of this plate, creates a rift. You see the same thing going on down here in South America, because after Solomon Island, that broke the tectonic plate. These plates are wanting to go that way too. So rifts forming here, and rifts are forming in Africa too. And it's likely going to have to do with this circling arm. Now this is the way it appears from the surface without being able to see down below. It could be shaped differently than what I'm telling you. But the places that want to show the evidence is between the plates. So that's why it appears that where my cursor is where the arm is going, and where this is where this arm is going over here. And with that, then yeah, I was going to show you this story about another massive ground fissure. Expect to see more and more of this stuff. It's going to be on the west coast of the Americas. That's where you're going to see it primarily, but you're going to also see it in Africa too. Don't have the I have this figured out why it's happening over on the American side. The African side, it's going to be another story. If you look at the scallion maps of the future on Africa, then it's devastated by what's coming. These rising magma plumes, this activity, the convergence, the terminating ends colliding over near Africa is likely going to be the culprit, something like that. But do not have enough data to be able to say definitively at this time. Not like California. We know that it's going to happen. It's just a matter of when that it's going to happen. Okay, then Mike. Mike is another one of the physicists like Jason. Real smart fella. And he gives his graphing, his charting. I want to make sure you guys all see this stuff. He's got an aphelion and perihelion position that is identical to mine. Right? He's just going to give this thing, the black star is going to have elliptical orbit path when it's when it's on its aphelion side. For more than 1,000 years, it's in this circle right here in the solar system. It's when it comes in that it's changing to a circular orbit as it's coming around and then leaving again. So I cannot possibly see that it's anywhere near those lines are, but I think that's just for a demonstration, not a scale thing. Then it's got a lot of good data here, showing a picture of the solar system. You guys can draw your own conclusions, and if you're a subscriber, you can write me and quote a part. Give your analysis. We'll ship that over to Mike and let him give some clarifying statements for next week's newsletter. Then I want to give just a little bit of commentary on this. Then did I make a video on this? The sun's going to be over here on the right. We know where the satellite was by the pictures and the time. And this is going to be a ground formation with mountain peaks. Remember that Venus has a retrograde. It reverses. It has a reverse rotation of all the other planets because it's been messed with by the black star on a high percentage of its black star orbit cycles, right? But solar wind's coming from this way. If you take what looks like a bow shock here and you connect the terminal ends, right, and you draw your 90, it's going to point at the sun this way. This is going to be solar wind driven. This is going to be solar. The black star is actually behind this in this direction. This is going to be solar wind driven, and it's going to be because of the lack of the magnetosphere. It's going to be because of the interaction. This is what you would see deep, not on the top, but down below the surface. Not the surface of the planet, but below the surface of the clouds. So there's the high elevation going to be right here, and the way that solar wind's coming across, then it's creating this bow right here. The planet, remember, is turning backwards. So you really need, and the interesting thing to me, I did make a video on this. Did I include it up here? Should be. Gave the reply here, didn't connect the video. Looks like. So anyway, same thing here. Sun's over here. It's going to be a solar wind driven thingy. So with that, then this report's getting mighty long. Remember, the radio section is at the bottom. The radio show that's done this afternoon. It's not, you know, you're getting back to December the 1st. That's the way it's going to be moving forward. And so the one for 126 will be right here. That's at Revolution Radio. You can click on the link. You can come to the chat room, ask your questions. Get yourself a username. It's free. It's easy. And then you can actively participate. Remember, that's another way to get a free link to the weekly newsletters, just like in the subscription box of this video. You can get them over there. When you kept up with the research, and you want more, then become a subscriber. You want to become a subscriber and me interact with you personally, then you're going to go to terralo3.com and hit that subscribe button. $25 per year. Again, appreciate you guys' support, and see you on the next Black Star update. And hopefully there's time this week to make some news updates. We'll see how it goes. See you next time.
Hello YouTubers, this is my third video in this series on the dog star named Sirius, and it's the true beginning where the rubber meets the road. This video illustrates the elliptical motion of our Sun with our binary companion star Sirius. Some say that this complete cycle is equal to the Earth's precession cycle of approximately 25,000 years. I'm not so sure about that, but what do I know? The Hopi Indian prophecy talked about a blue star named Kachina, and when it arrives, things are going to really heat up and get tough, as the Hopi refers to it as the day of purification. Sirius probably appears blue because of the blue shift of the light spectrum and its Doppler effect caused by its approach. Did you notice how fast the Sun and Sirius travel around each other in a circle before moving back out into space from each other? Yeah, they really spin around each other fast before they slingshot back out in the opposite directions. There are other factors which will be discussed in a later video which actually pertains to some of the catastrophes and, well, I guess you would say the geological and meteorological things that's going to happen as this here Sirius approaches our Sun, or our Sun approaches Sirius, or they approach each other. But thanks for watching. Hello YouTubers. Kepler wrote 3 laws of planetary motion: the law of ellipses, the law of equal areas, and the law of harmonics. This short video will focus only on the first law, the law of ellipses. This first law simply states that a planet such as Earth orbits around the Sun in an elliptical orbit. What you will notice with an elliptical orbit that there are 2 foci, or centers of gravity, in which the Earth or a planet circle around. One foci is the Sun, and the other one is a point in space at a given distance from the Sun. This relationship between the Sun and the Earth is a binary relationship. You will learn in preceding videos how this happens with stars too.
I think you're referring to HEO 437. It's an amazing object. Maybe 1 in a million, maybe 1 in a billion.
Why is it blue? Is it because of the speed?
It's blue not because of the speed, but just because it's a relatively young massive star. So it burns hot. Hot objects look bluish. So that's not so unusual. What's unusual is that it should have died by now. It was thrown out of the Milky Way 100 million years ago, and those stars don't live that long. So how is it now, 60,000 light years out of the Milky Way, still alive?
This is an anomaly that you guys are scratching your heads over.
The best hypothesis is now, that's consistent with the data, is that a pair of stars had a close encounter with a giant black hole in the center of our Milky Way, which resulted in them being thrown out at a very high velocity. And it's been traveling out from the Milky Way for 100 million years, and in this process it looks like the 2 stars merged into 1 star. So it's living longer than it would normally.
So maybe these blue stars do exist. What makes me uncomfortable is when the science starts agreeing with these Hopi prophecies.
Fucking scooters.
appears to be an eclipse. Something is eclipsing it.